Well, it's time for our Husker Chat again with Sean Callahan of HuskerOnline as we've reached the final game of the regular season. As this Friday, the Huskers will square off against Iowa. We're joined by Sean Callahan once again of HuskerOnline. And Sean, what a performance and what a scene on Saturday as the Huskers found a way to gut one out against Michigan State.
Yeah, it was one of those days, one of those games that, I know the records weren't great, but it was just who wanted it more. And Nebraska, this program right now, had some fight in them, and they were able to kind of stand up to Michigan State. Michigan State tried to bully them a little bit early and intimidate them in some respects, and I felt like Nebraska stood up to that, and then they were able to finish it. And just the scene, the setting when that game ended, it was out of a movie. I mean, you had snow coming down and guys on the field doing snow angels and jumping around, having fun. It was an incredible scene just to see them pull out a game like that and really give this season some more credibility.
Where do you think they've progressed the most from the start of the year until now, and especially in the last month?
Well, I mean, the easy one to say, I mean, it's really everything, but the mental mistakes, the penalties, and just shooting themselves in the foot. We're just not seeing the false starts and the holdings on the offensive line like we saw early. Adrian Martinez, though, continues to grow, and that's made a big difference. But then defensively, they forced so many more turnovers. I think they had 2 on Saturday, 2 or 3. So their number is up considerably. But here's another number for you, Jason. They've broken up 57 passes this year. All of 2017, they had just 28 pass breakups. So you're seeing just more active hands-on football defense where maybe they're not only getting more turnovers, but they're just deflecting a lot more passes and balls in the air.
And it also, I would think, would show that you have guys in the right position to make a play, and that's something that hadn't happened the last couple of years.
Yeah, everyone's on the same page. They're mentally locked in. And I think the first few weeks of the season, things just got off to such a rocky start between the opener getting canceled, Martinez is getting injured against Colorado, and then the Troy game, not having Martinez, and then playing the best team, as we now know, in the Big Ten, Michigan. The first 4 weeks of the season were unlike any first 4 weeks we've ever seen at Nebraska, with all the different scenarios and situations that this program was faced during a transition. And it was such a hole to get out of, but it appears they finally have gotten out of that hole.
You mentioned it was a slow start, but they're finishing strong. And another thing, and Coach Frost has talked about the culture a lot, but another thing that jumps out to me is, and this seems like such a simple thing, but they've figured out how to win again, and that's paramount going forward.
Well, yeah, you think about it, Jason, and they win a year between wins where this program had not won a home game, had not won a game essentially in almost a year. And that is just not culture that you want at a place like Nebraska. So just the simple fact of this team learning the important things, how to close a game, how to finish a game, how to mentally stay locked in for fourth quarters. They wouldn't have won a game like Saturday maybe a year ago because Nebraska's players just didn't have the mental capacity to match up with a team like Michigan State in that kind of game where you really couldn't afford to make very many mistakes.
How do you see this one against Iowa? The Hawkeyes have been up and down. They thumped Illinois on Saturday, and the Huskers certainly go into this one with plenty of momentum.
Yeah, it's hard what to make out of that Illinois game. They were without Reggie Corbin, their star running back. I mean, he's an NFL-level back. He got hurt against Nebraska. So Iowa had a pretty good game plan, and they executed it. And I think Illinois, losing the Nebraska game, they really lost a lot of wind in their sail at that point, knowing that they had really no chance to go to a bowl game. It was going to be a lot tougher for them at least. So I think they played really well, and Iowa needed that game. But there's a lot of things that interest me about this matchup, just how Iowa matches up with Adrian Martinez. And then J.D. Spielman. I mean, if he plays and can be effective, that's going to be a huge, huge difference in this game for Nebraska without having him. In the weather, it's hard to say what we're going to get on Friday. There's talk of rain, but ideally, if you can get some favorable climate conditions where you can operate this offense, that's going to give Nebraska their best chance.
Now, this past Saturday, the Huskers had a number of recruits in. Wasn't the best day to show off Lincoln. They did end up with one verbal commitment over the weekend. What was your general take on how some of those recruits, what they thought of things and their thoughts on the Huskers?
Yeah, they had 7 official visitors in. I think 3 or 4. 3 of them were already commits to Nebraska, but they did a pretty good job. I mean, I think the big one to watch is Ty Robinson, the defensive lineman out of Arizona. He's a Husker or Nebraska legacy. His family's from the state. His mom, I believe, is from O'Neill. So there's a big family connection. Alabama and USC were kind of the other teams in there with Ty Robinson, 4-star D end. Word is the visit went as well as you could have asked. He still hasn't made an announcement or anything, and I know he's planning on visiting Alabama. At least that was his plan. So they had a great weekend, all things considered, and you got to just kind of sell it for what it is. I mean, yeah, it's cold, it's snowy, but a lot of these kids from the South, it was the first time they'd ever seen snow, so they thought it was pretty cool. So they really try to make the most out of it when the weather conditions are like what they were Saturday.
Should be a lot of fun to watch on Friday. Sean, as always, thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you, Jason. Have a good Thanksgiving.
You too. That was Sean Callahan, the publisher of Husker Online, with us today as we have once again our weekly Husker Chat. I'm Jayson Jorgensen.